Hey friends, hey friends, hey friends. This is Coach Rose AJ and Coach L Kelly coming to holla at y'all. We are Chit and Chat Warriors for Health. Y'all, let me just give you a really quick disclaimer today. Everything that Coach L Kelly and I talk about here is from our personal experiences, our education, and our experiences with coaching with clients. We don't want you to take anything at face value. If you feel as though you want to embark on a lifestyle change, a dietary change, please consult your physician before doing so. But we want to share our journey with you as far as helping you to get started, to get motivated, to provide some information. But we are not medical physicians, okay? So we are giving y'all disclaimers and we are not your coaches, okay? But we are your virtual coaches through sharing the experiences, and whatever you choose to apply, please do so wisely and seek medical attention, advice, whatever you need before embarking on something new. So today, what we're going to do is something a little unique. So the last two episodes, I shared my story. And my starting point was in 2018, right? So today we're going to talk to Coach L. Kelly. We're going to talk to her about what her experience has been with her weight loss journey, what changes have come about with her mental and physical wellness, and how she sees the world the same or differently, and what she's wanting to work towards and aspire to. All right, Coach L. Kelly, you have the floor. Let's do this, girlfriend.
Hi, Coach Rose AJ. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. So yeah, the weight loss journey, health journey, it's all tied together. And I know you said you had your starting point. I think my starting point is like probably junior high school, just in terms of dieting, period. Just that kind of yo-yo dieting when you desire to be thin or whatever it is that you feel like you need to be. And so I would say it's always been an off and on journey for me. But in terms of making it my primary focus, in terms of, how I treat myself from a health perspective, I would say that is more of a recent journey. Meeting you in our coach training and learning a lot about health and wellness and how it's all tied together. I would say my starting point would be top of the year, just really knowing that I need to make some changes from a health standpoint and really dive into what I need to do to be the best version of myself. And we always joke, that we are a work in progress. And I would say that's what I am. I'm definitely a work in progress. And even though I'm talking about things that have been successful for me in my health journey, it's still a process. We still change. Things can change and we can switch it up. But for me, I had to, basically decide, you know, what is going to be the plan? What plan am I going to embark upon to start my weight loss journey and see that success? So I would say, that was number one, just like making a plan that was more long term versus a short term plan. Don't need any more diets. Been there, done that. I didn't want to see any of that. Because in my mind, if I'm going to make a change that's going to stick, it needs to be for life. And so the first thing that I had to do was figure out what is that plan going to be. And we've talked about some of that in our other shows, some of the things. But for me, it wasn't just do this, do that. It was really like, what can I live with? What is going to sustain me in the lifestyle that I live? The things that I choose to do. So one of the things is I, got a journal. We always talk about this journal. And I got a journal and decided and wrote down some things like kind of what do I want to do? What do I want the plan to look like? And then we talked about, the eating and intermittent fasting. That was definitely a part of it in terms of, how do I want to eat? How do I want to exercise? You know, how do I want to embark upon this to see the success? And also in your plan or in my plan, I wanted to be able to lose a certain amount of weight a week, which is a slow kind of like, they say the body can release at least 2 pounds a week, and that's definitely a healthy kind of pace to go. That sounds crazy when you think about the dieting that gives you all the I was going to say get rich quick schemes, but the but the lose but but the lose weight quick schemes. So that 2 pounds a week, I had to change my mindset too in terms of, what my, how I'm going to achieve these goals and what's natural in doing that. So 2 pounds a week became my new kind of goal. And in embarking on my journey, I was able to achieve that. Now, some of the things that I did, number one, that I feel is important for me is that I had to hold myself accountable for what I put in the mouth, because it's very, by the time I eyeball something, you're like, I can eyeball this, or, you see things where they say, eat a fistful of this or a fistful of that. No, I had to actually hold myself accountable and track what I was doing on an app, track the food that I'm taking in, and just kind of really to check myself too, because a lot of times we eat more than what we think. And that's what I found for me. Like, no wonder I wasn't losing weight. Like, really? So, a half a cup of rice or a cup of rice looks like this versus what I had. So, I would say the journaling was a big part for me, not just to track food, but also to track, for me, what's going well and what's not going well, kind of checking in with myself to kind of hold myself accountable to the choices that I was making, because do I have certain foods on my list that are triggers? Do you know those trigger foods? We've talked about that, right? So, do I have food on my list that are triggers? And what am I going to do about that? Taking accountability for that. So, what I found is that I basically made three lists. One is, foods that, are healthy. Let's just, I can eat it to my, to my heart's content. And the second kind of list that I made was foods that I should just have in moderation. And then the third list was a trigger list, foods that I know trigger me to just act crazy and lose my mind.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm curious, Coach L. Kelly, you said you started pretty much at the start of the year.
Right.
That was your jumping off point,
Yes.
and that you journaled a lot about what you wanted this part of your journey to look like.
Yes.
Could you give like the first steps and actually what led you to intermittent fasting? Is it something that you heard of, that you researched, or did you see other people have success with that? And then if you want to share what kind of dietary protocol you finally settled into that felt right for you to get the results that you wanted.
Yeah, I actually stumbled across the intermittent fasting by accident. I was on a plane ride. It was a magazine, I bought a couple of magazines, and one of the articles was on intermittent fasting, not something that I'd ever really thought about before. Um, and I think we do things when we're dieting, like we have all these rules, right? Don't do this or don't do that or don't eat after this time. And so I just thought intermittent fasting, that's just another rule. You don't eat during a certain time or, a certain window. But really, it's more than that. It's really something that helps our bodies to be more healthy and run more efficiently. And when I understood the reasoning behind why one should do that, that's when I decided, well, I'm going to try it. Everything looked really positive in terms of the reasons to do it. And I said, well, let me try it. And so one of the things that I found with intermittent fasting, because we read about all the healthy things that it does internally to our body. And I believe that because you just feel better. I was just feeling better, had more energy, better digestion. The weight was coming off at my 2 pound goal a week. All of these positive things were happening. But I will say this, for someone who constantly eats, if you find yourself that like me, I'm just a snacker. I was just a snacker, just eating all the time, just, nighttime snack, bedtime snack, snack all over the place. And so one of the things I like about intermittent fasting is that it has that cutoff period too. So for someone who is a constant snacker like that, it is another rule, but it's a rule that's doable for me to follow because I know I've been nourishing my body during that 8 hour window that I have been eating, right? So I'm not feeling hungry. My insulin levels not all over the place. Everything feels great. So that's what led me to the intermittent fasting. And that's why I will do it for life because it's been such, I've just felt so powerful from doing it. Like I finally have control in areas that I didn't feel that I had control in before.
You name some of those areas that you didn't feel as though you had control in and you now have control in.
Yeah. The snacking, definitely sugar, that's a big one. And we talk about sugar addiction. And I guess I don't know if that's the proper word for it, but I call it a sugar addiction because if you have to keep doing something that's not good for you, I think I think that's right. I think that's what we call an addiction. And so having to conquer that, because I was just, eating a lot of sugar, it becomes whether it's a habit, whether it was soothing for me, whether I'm upset, whether I'm happy, it doesn't matter. It was just a habit to do that all the time. So to break that habit, that was one of the things that intermittent fasting helped me to do. Because if I'm only going to eat in this window of time, then I want the best food possible to nourish my body, getting rid of the processed foods. I wouldn't say getting rid of them because it's virtually, to me, it's impossible because I still I follow more of a diet in moderation, moderated carbs, moderated, protein and vegetables and fruits, kind of like a mix of all of it. So I wouldn't say that I totally got rid of processed food, but definitely being more particular in what I buy and being aware of the sugar content in foods is really a big deal. And that would be more, those 3 lists that I told you I made. One of the lists is just have this food in abundance because with my mind, I don't want you to just tell me that I can't have something. I don't want to that's what I can't stand about diets. I don't want to just feel so deprived and irritated because I can't have something. So I said, well, let me make this long list. And I was really excited about this list. Let me make a long list of all the healthy things that I can have. And then let me make a list for the moderated things. So I didn't just get rid of sugar completely. But what I did is put it on a list of moderation. And that moderation may look like once every other week, a little snack. But that's way different from the daily usage that I had before. So I feel like in those areas, definitely my eating, it put me on a certain pattern, even with exercise, because now I've had my last meal. Now it's time to exercise. So I would say it helped me to regulate too. It gave me a regulation in my schedule that I didn't have before.
So, can you share with us some of the things that you can reflect on now that you have your eating in a certain window and you've made your 3 list? Do you know what some of the situations or what compelled you to snack continuously or to eat continuously as opposed to now? Was there something that you were trying to solve or soothe yourself with the food, or was it just literally out of habit? Um,
All of
because
that.
even though, okay,
Yes.
okay,
Out of habit,
okay.
eating for different, maybe stressful situations or happy situations, but definitely out of habit, being like, I think we talked about this, being a latchkey kid and being on my own a lot in the past, just there was no kind of regular meal time. I just kind of, you just eat and just snack and just you do, whatever I wanted to my heart's content. So I would say it's just been over time. That's just been a habit, right? And so it doesn't have to be because I'm trying to solve a problem or solve a hurt, but that could certainly be a reason. That could definitely be one of the reasons, but it doesn't have to be because of that. It was just more a habit. And so breaking that kind of habit that's a comfort to you is not easy. So I feel the pain of any, dieter, or I don't even like to say dieter, of any person trying to change their lifestyle for the good in the long term. I feel that because it is not easy to change those habits that served us before. And so for me, I just had to kind of retrain my brain, and just kind of create a different path for my brain that this is what we're going to do. That's why I made the 3 lists. So the trigger food, the one on there, I just try to stay away from, period. And if I do have it, if I do decide and make that decision to have a trigger food, I know that's what I'm doing. So, but generally I try to stay away from those. A trigger food to me is one where it just turns you into a food monster. You know, one just won't do. It's kind of like that one Pringle or something. One just will not do. So I try to stay away from things like that because honestly, once you're eating healthy and once you've kind of been on this journey, you don't really crave things like that anyway. So it's kind of like why put it in my body. So I challenge myself and hold myself accountable for that. Um, and it was a big deal too in terms of the kinds of foods that I keep in the house. So at one point, I would kind of just be blaming everybody else. I could lose this weight if you guys didn't have all this junk in the house, right? Like if you didn't have this junk and these candies and these cookies,
I
I could
feel
lose
you
the
on
weight.
that.
You understand what
Yeah,
I mean?
I totally feel you on that.
It's the people's fault. It's the people's fault. But I had to get real with myself. The change is with me. Hubby may feel he's fine. Other family members may feel they're fine. The change has to be with me. So I have a perfect kitchen, and that is everything that I need. I like to cook a lot more now because, I really want to have those kind of not just nutritious food, but food that's really good, right? But I don't try to like police what my husband brings in the house anymore because this is real life. If it wasn't at home that you're seeing these things, you're going to go in a grocery store. When you're standing at the line, they have all the goodies in front of the line. Or if you go to someone's house, you're going out with girlfriends, you're always going to have these issues or this issue to bear. So I just had to take accountability for myself and, just focus on me. And stop making that an excuse. Well, it's in the house. I got to eat it. It would be ideal that you don't have these foods in your house, but if you live with other people, kids, spouses, whatever, sometimes that can be hard. So I just had to make the decision, well, I'm going to do it regardless, right? We can't wait for this perfect time, the perfect setting in your home, the perfect this or that. It doesn't exist. And so that's really kept my mind frame, down the path that it needs to be.
Right on. So I appreciate you sharing that accountability, the self-accountability piece, and not being able to control what's being brought into your home, right? So what I do want to ask you is you're speaking of your spouse probably eating just a tad bit differently than you do. So when those foods are in your house, what do you say to yourself? Do you say these are not my foods, or do you just say they don't exist, or do you have your own shelf, your own personal foods that you prefer? How does that work?
Well, let's come from a place of total honesty. At first, I would just eat them and keep messing up on my eating plan. So, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so just because I decided this is what I'm going to do at the top of the year, I still had these kind of stop start moments, right? So if we're going to be totally transparent, I would eat them. I would just kind of like, well, they're here. Even my husband was trying to hide stuff in different little places, but then I have to open a drawer to get a pen. I'm going to see it. It's just crazy. So, so to be quite honest with you, I would eat it at first. But once I really, going through this journey and really sitting down with myself and saying, you can do this. Like we have to remove all barriers, all excuses. People are going to be who they are. You can't, we can't tell people what to do or, have them eat the way that we want them to eat. And so honestly, it was just retraining my brain. So now those foods can sit on the counter, they can sit wherever. It doesn't affect me like that. It's just not my food. It's just not my thing. I have my own healthy options here. And I'm very much a creature of habit. So I have my, my fruits and my vegetables and the snacks that I enjoy, my nuts and seeds and things like that. I have all of that. I always have all of that on hand. And so being a creature of habit, I know what the rhythm of what I'm going to follow is going to look like today. And it doesn't have anything to do with those Twinkies over there or those apple pies or whatever it may be. So it doesn't affect me like that at all. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't at first because I'm like, okay, I am woman, hear me roar. I'm gonna, start this new journey. And then darn it. And we do that, right? Like, darn it, I ate this, I ate that. And then you have all of this, kind of, feeling bad or things like that. Now, if I do like the moderation, my list with the moderated foods, it's simply a decision every other week if I want to have a little sweet treat here and there. It's a decision. So there's no guilt because you have to remove that. We have to get out of our own heads. And I had to do that too, because then you just feel worse if you're living in that cycle. Right. And so I just don't, it's there, but it doesn't affect me like that. I will say though, I think that it has a lot to do with removing processed foods and sugar out of the diet because with my insulin levels just being normal now, they're just not up and down. I just don't have the cravings. So I think that's important too. It's not like some magic, like, oh, I just don't see you. I just don't crave it anymore. I just don't have those cravings anymore. Getting rid of those or minimizing the processed foods and eating more fruits and vegetables and lean meats. I'm pescatarian, eating, the fish and things like that. I think that helps me. It's kind of like, have you ever heard that expression? Don't start none, won't be none. If I don't start, yeah, yeah.
Girl, I heard that. We probably invented it, to be quite honest, that
Don't start
saying.
none. We've all heard that, right? Don't start none, won't be none. If I don't start eating the sugar, I don't crave it. We don't have a problem here. And so that's really, so it's not some magic that I just said I'm not going to do it today. I had to change totally the way that I was eating and the kind of foods that I'm ingesting in my body that regulated my appetite and that make me feel totally satisfied by my last meal.
In years past, I'm sure we both discussed how many diets or, lifestyle changes that we've had in our first 50 years of life, right?
Mhm.
There's been so many. Now you're in the process, right? So what makes it says that you're in the process to getting to where you want to be? Can you define that for us?
And the process, meaning that I think this will be a lifelong process. I don't think and I think that's good because I think that when you embark upon the diet culture, you're always just focused on the end result. That's why if you're scrolling through YouTube or anything, you'll see, hey, look at how I lost 30 pounds in 2 days. You know, that's like, and then they'll get a million views for something like that, right? Because that's kind of like the culture, that's like the mindset. But I think it's good for wealth and wellness to be a lot, wealth and what did I say? What did I say? What did I say?
Oh, you said wealth and wellness.
I did not say wellness. I did not
Yes, you
mean that.
did.
Strict that from the record.
It's going to stay.
Did I say that? Wellness and health and wellness. Oh my God. I think it's good for wealth and wellness that we look at it like a lifelong journey. And so that's why I say it's lifelong for me. I'm never going to get off this ride and say, well, got that, got that down. No, this is going to be lifelong. I'm going to always have to, watch the kind of food that I intake, watch my the calories or the amount of food that I eat. I'm always going to have to be cognizant of these things. So that's why I say work in progress, and that's going to be for life. And I think that it's good for me. One of the things I have to remember to do all the time is enjoy this journey. I enjoy who I'm becoming, and we're going to keep becoming something as long as we're taking breath on this earth, right? So I think that not just being focused on the end result, whatever that is for someone, it could be weight or whatever the goal is, enjoying the journey is really important too. So we can be kind to ourselves, pump ourselves up, when we have success, because sometimes, as women, we may not always speak kindly to ourselves because we have so much pressure on ourselves and we want to, be the best at everything. So I think it's good as you're going through that journey. For me, I have affirmations all over, I meditate. I start off my day spiritually with, whatever feeds my soul, from a wellness perspective is really important to this whole overall health journey for me as well. That's really helped me too.
So, in your first couple of renditions of dieting or weight loss success, and maybe gaining some weight back over the years, and this ultimately becoming the actual lifestyle that you want to live for the rest of your life, and that you're always evolving it, always growing into it, always
Mm-hmm.
changing and tweaking things as you see fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us, like in previous years, like if you've dieted, did you learn something from those diets that you brought forward with you, or did you leave everything from those previous diets? Like I had shared, I did Slim Fast, did Dexatrim, just did all these crazy diets. I even tried Weight Watchers, but I didn't feel the energy of that. I
Right.
tried every diet under the sun, literally, starvation, binging, whatever it was.
Right.
And I intuitively believe that I learned something from every time that I attempted to lose weight. There was
Mm-hmm.
something that called me to that, right?
Right.
Like Beachbody, there was something that called me to it. And I just extracted what I could from that and kept it with me to create my own plan, right?
Right.
But there were so many diets also where I was like, oh, I can just go ahead and follow this diet, lose X amount of pounds, and then I can go back to the way I was eating and
Right.
not gain the weight. That's crazy, right? Now
Right.
we know that.
Right.
So, can you share some of your successes as far as lessons that you've learned from maybe a couple of diets that you've carried forward with you to this protocol that you're doing right now?
I feel like if I were to write a book on this, the book would be what not to do. I feel like, I mean, there's been just so many diets. prior to my embarking on just an overall wellness journey, right? And so I won't name names because we don't want to get sued here, Coach Rose, AJ. But let's say I did, one program that had all the food delivery meals come to your home and they prepare all the food. And I lost 20 pounds because let's be clear, anytime that I've embarked on a lot of the weight loss diets, I did lose weight, every single time, just reducing calories, following the program. The problem is that you're always just kind of dealing with the symptom and never the problem. So I would just gain it back, right? So on this particular program, lost the weight, eating those foods, it just gave me kind of indigestion and different issues, different problems, but I still lost the weight. The minute that I was off of that kind of processed high sugar food, I gained it back. So I think that my story would be I learned, yes, I have learned a lot, but I've learned a lot about what not to do, so I think calorie counting, we know that. I mean, you have to reduce food intake to some degree. You can't just eat everything. So a certain logical things like that. But putting it all together now for me is everything that feels good to me, journaling and meditation and reducing the processed foods and, portion control and intermittent fasting, putting all of this together. I guess you can say it's, from learning, everything that we learn over time, but definitely diets. I would say I've learned everything, a lot of stuff not to do too. And that's okay. Cause I guess that is still knowledge is power, even if you're learning the path. Don't take this path moving forward. Eat real foods. Don't get into a meal delivery program where all the food looks like astronaut food and dehydrated. Stop, you're
You
cracking
know,
up laughing.
okay, so when you said the meal preps are already done for you, I could, they want you to eat one of those dinners or cuisines or whatever it
You throw it
is
in a
per
microwave,
meal.
high sodium and all that. Yeah.
But me, I would eat like three of them at one time. I'm like, how you gonna give me this little bit of food? I would be
Right.
resentful. Why am I buying these lean cuisines? What's going on here? You know what I'm saying? I know that there are Weight Watchers. What? I need pizza, this, that, and the other.
Right.
It just didn't work. But those manufacturers, they do put chemicals or they make them to hit that bliss point to keep you coming back for more. So even if that meal delivery service food was just okay, it tricks your brain into thinking it's the best food on earth. And even though
Right.
you don't really like it, you still crave it because that's what you're eating, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now that you're saying that you don't have cravings anymore, your blood glucose is under control, you don't have the highs and lows, because I experienced a lot of that too. It was very
Right.
maddening, right? So would you take a moment to explain what a pescatarian dietary protocol is, and maybe if you followed 100%, or there's some timey foods that you add in that a normal pescatarian wouldn't add in?
Yeah. So basically, a pescatarian is that protocol is someone who is eating primarily seafood. So I do not eat beef or turkey or chicken or any of those, but pescatarian, you'll see me eating salmon or cod or shrimp, something in that kind of seafood family. And it's kind of like the vegetarian diet, but just adding fish, just adding. So it's kind of like the sister to that. But vegetarians don't shoot me. I know that you don't eat the fish, but I'm saying like you can have all of that, all of the stuff that vegetarians would eat, but then you're just pescatarian, just following, eating more seafood. And and I like plant-based too. So sometimes I'll switch it up. You may see me eat on a particular day where it's just more plant-based. And I don't eat seafood every day, but that is my protein, one of my proteins of choice.
I'm curious, how did you get to be pescatarian, or what led you down that way? Did you grow up with a lot of seafood and fish and all that stuff? Okay, so I'm acting like a valley girl here for a minute because I really don't know. Now, I've tried vegan, I've tried vegetarian. I didn't last long on either of them. I tried flexitarian. I tried everything under the sun, right? I tried, right? So I'm curious as to how you came into the pescatarian, specifically the seafood.
Um, what happened with that? I think, you know what, my daughter had went to a camp one summer and we had been talking about it before she went to camp, like becoming vegetarians and maybe not eating meat because of a lot of reading that we were doing on certain things in education. So when she came back from the summer camp and, I picked her up, she said, I'm a vegetarian now. And I said, what do you mean? She said, the food was so horrible at camp. She said that I just became a vegetarian, only ate the vegetarian stuff. I wouldn't eat the meat. And so I said, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go on this journey with you. But pescatarian that's as far as I can go. That's kind of meeting somewhere in the middle. And I really do like seafood. And so that was, I don't even know how many years ago. She's out of college now, and that was maybe in junior high. I don't know. So it's been a long time that I've been pescatarian. So that was really that was an interesting journey because at first it was kind of like, wait a minute, I'm missing some things here. And even now I like the smell of certain things, but I haven't had any meat or anything outside of the seafood family in, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, I don't know how, it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Thanks for sharing that because I was curious. I was like, okay, pescatarian. I got it. I understand it. Just like I'm carnivore, you got it,
Right,
And
right,
I can't imagine anyone not eating beef, right? Anything, any kind of beef. But
right.
I totally get it because I really don't eat a lot of fish, but being here in the Pacific Northwest, salmon is my preference if I'm going to eat. And
Yes.
then shrimp, those are my basics, right? And so what else would you like to share with our listeners and our viewers today about your journey?
Um, I would say that this is a very pivotal time in my life because making a change like this when you've had the same habits for so long, I know that's not easy. But I would say for anyone going down their own journey, just hang in there and figure out what works for you. Because once you can figure that out and stay on that path, it's just the best thing. I just feel the best version of myself now than I ever have, which is, interesting because you would think that it would be, people say that at a younger age, but I'm saying that at an older age, on this side of life, best time because just figuring this stuff out and doing it naturally, that's not easy thing to do either to, you know, figure out a new way to move and do that naturally. So I think that just hang in there and, just put together, work with a coach, like, we have coaches, work with a coach to help you put together a plan that works for you and hang in there, and just be true to yourself and your journey.
Okay, thank you for that. But can you share, speaking of that, exercise? You mentioned that you exercise, or I know that you exercise. Do you feel as though exercise is necessary in order to assist with the weight loss process? Or what are your thoughts in general about exercise?
Um, I do find that movement is really important for my journey. Like I do have a regimented 6 days a week, 30 minutes of exercise, whatever that is. This is the thing. I'm not super like I'm not a fire sergeant with it, right? It's really what do I want to do? Do I want to do 30 minutes of cardio today? Do I want to strength train today? What is that going to be? I have my stair stepper, I have my bike, we have our punching bag. I have different things at home and for our home gym purposes that I can do. So I feel like that movement is important. I feel good. And guess what? It's a habit. It's a habit now. So it doesn't feel right for me not to do it. That wasn't the case before. So I feel like whatever movement you feel good doing, I do feel like not just for your to lose weight, to burn more calories, but also just for your mental wellness and to, they say if we don't move it, is that we don't move it, we lose it. So I feel like just figuring out whatever that movement is that's enjoyable, then do it. Some people are more drill sergeant like, and it has to be this way. I'm not that person. For those 30 minutes, I figure out what is it that I want to do today. And that's what I do. And now that's become a habit to do that 6 days a week if I can. That's the goal. So I do feel like it's important for many reasons. but I also feel it's important that you really enjoy what you're doing, even if that's walking. You and I were talking about these old videos. It's a woman named Leslie Swanson. I told you she used to do these walk in your living room kind of videos. And I'm like, are you serious? Well, that stuff works. I brought those back out. you know and here in
Yeah.
the Seattle area it rains, so
Yes.
sometimes we have to walk around the house.
Yeah.
And so if you're not going to the gym or whatever, and so I feel, and it's really fun actually, so I feel like it is important for me anyway, and I feel like if anyone's trying to lose weight, the food part we know is really important. You have to get that down. It's so important what we ingest and what we eat and take into our bodies, but it's important that we move too.
Yes. So that reminds me. So working out has been a part of my existence since I was 20 years old, right?
Hmm.
So I go to Hot Works, I go to the gym, and I have a home gym. But this is the thing. I understand you to say that you work out at home and you enjoy it 110% and you
Right.
get it in, right?
Right.
So during COVID, I bought a lot of equipment because I was like, these gyms are going to shut down. I'm never going to go through this again. So I'll have everything I need, right? But I'm the kind of person who's more motivated going to the gym, going to Hot Works. I get a better workout, right? So all the equipment that I have at home, it supplements me to stay moving in the evening, if that makes sense. I use
Right.
it very gently and whatnot. But I also know that I know what to do if the gyms did ever shut down again.
Right.
So had you ever worked out in a gym before as far as being around people? Did you enjoy that? Or is your ultimate preference at home, at your leisure, at your convenience
Yeah, for
versus?
sure. Yeah, for sure. Like I've had a few gym memberships, and like anything that I take on, I was full speed ahead. I'm getting in the car, going to the gym, really dedicated to it. But see, I used to live on the West Coast. I mean, well, we're West Coast, but I mean in California. It was hot every day. So we could go to the gym and, anytime, jump in the car. It was just really convenient. And then I moved here where we have, it gets dark so soon. We have a lot of rain. I don't like to drive in the rain like that. And so that just led me to I joined the gym. Then it led me to excuses. So the reason why I choose to have the gym at home, I work from home. So I can just make that easy transition from work to working out and get it done and know that it's done. No room for excuse. What kind of excuse am I going to have? Right. And so that's why I do that. But I do say when it's in the summertime, when it's more summer, when we have great weather out here, because we have great summers. When we have those great summers, I do like to be out. I'd rather be walking out. We have Lake Washington that's beautiful. I like to walk around there. We have different parks. So I do like to be out when we have better weather, but having it at home just leaves me with the ability to not have any excuses.
I like that no excuses deal, but I love what you said. You're not gonna wreck your brain over it. 30 minutes, whatever feels good and sounds good to you, you just do it. You go with the flow. And I'm the complete opposite. I'm one of those straight and narrows. I need that structure. Okay, this is my workout tomorrow morning. And yes, I'm the one that walks around with the book, jotting down my weights and stuff like
I
that.
was teasing you, right? I was teasing
You
you when I
know,
said that.
I had to do a confessional on this, right? So we're the opposites in that, but I don't use the exercise to counter any weight gain or weight loss. It's more
Right.
for my mental health and just for me to say, aha, this is how we're starting our day. So, Coach L. Kelly, do you have any specific specific suggestions for somebody who is 50 years old, who may have hit their rock bottom or just tired, but they know, like I knew at 50, that you can't give up, especially if that is communicating in the back of your head. What would you tell them to do specifically if you were coaching them at 50 years old and they come to you frustrated and they want your support because of your success and your education? How would you get them started?
I think it's really important that, like I said in the beginning, to understand what it is you want to achieve. A lot of times we may be frustrated or have, things going on in our lives to where you can't see the forest from the trees. And so you're not really clear on what those goals need to look like or what you're willing to do to accomplish those goals. So we would just need to start off, I would say just start off making it very clear. I'm a big passionate person of putting pen to paper or whatever that is, verbalizing it, whatever that is, but being very clear on what is it that you want to achieve? Are you so rock bottom that you need to speak to someone, making that decision too? Or you rock bottom where you just need to work with a health coach that can get you motivated and get you going in the right direction? That would be something too. But figuring out in the beginning what you need and what you want to accomplish is really important before you just embark on a journey. Because if you don't have a plan, then you're just following some diet or the latest craze or what everybody else is doing. Guess what? We're all individuals. There's not a one size fit all. And so you have to figure out what works for you. And sometimes you need help to do that. But it's good to start asking yourself that question, because we as health coaches, all we do is just help you along that journey. We don't tell you what you need, right? We need to hear that from you so we can help you achieve it. So sometimes people don't even ask themselves that question because they're at a point where, they may have given up. They don't think, what's the use? I keep failing. And so they don't even ask themselves that question or be able to visualize that. So that's really important, starting there. What is the plan? And getting the help that you need if you need it to put that game plan into action so you can start taking real steps towards taking care of yourself better.
Amen, amen, and amen. Thank you for that. That is just wonderful. That is wonderful. I think I need to hire you as my coach, Coach L.
Oh,
Kelly.
goodness.
And one last question before you go. What motivates you? What keeps you motivated? And what do you do when you lose motivation?
So, what motivates me, I would say, is love on every front. Love for myself, love for my family, love for God. Love motivates me. It keeps me wanting to be the best version of myself. It's the place that I operate from. It's my happy place, makes me smile. So I would say love is definitely my, if people say love language, love is my love language. That's redundant, isn't it? But yeah, I can say love. So, and what was the next, what was the other one?
Okay, so what motivates you? You
Love.
answered that.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you motivated? And what do you do when you lose motivation?
And then what keeps me motivated is just always checking in with myself, always, remembering my purpose and what it is that I want to do, day to day in my life. So I would say definitely always checking in, always being true to myself, and being able to make changes where I need. That keeps me motivated. And just knowing that I'm not yesterday's mistake, right? We're going to make mistakes. That's why I call it a journey. We make mistakes. We're not always perfect. And so for me, my motivation is, you know, whew, thank God that day is over with. Thank God today is another day. So
Right.
just knowing, just staying motivated, knowing we have another day. Life doesn't begin and end with one moment, you know.
Right, right. So was there ever a time where you felt as though it ended with that one moment and then you bounce back?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
So
times.
what do you do when you lose motivation? When you just totally lose motivation, whether it's for a few minutes, an hour, or 5 days, what do you do? How do you get out of that motivational loss?
Girl, pray. Pray, meditate, do whatever, because I'm going to fight back. I don't like being in a place of depression or anything like that, but we know that we're human. We experience disappointments in life, and that is going to further determine how we feel or respond to that thing. I'm just the type of person and personality, I just don't want to stay there. So I'm going to try to, whether it's meditation, prayer, calling up a girlfriend, doing things that make me feel good, taking on a new passion. Starting this podcast with you was part of a new passion, and it's some of, it's work that we feel very happy doing, right? So just whatever it takes to get in that happy place, that's going to be me trying to figure it out. I'm just not, and that doesn't make us, not human or make you not human that you don't want to experience, because we're all going to experience some kind of disappointment. I'm just the type of person that I don't want to be there for long.
I know,
I'm going to figure it out. You know what I mean?
I know, I know, I know. And so that was my last three questions, to be quite honest. That was my last three questions because I know I could keep talking to you forever. And this is the thing, everybody, we talk and talk before we start recording. And then once we start recording, we just flow. It's not like we're operating from notes or we do research to bring to the show. We just talk.
Yeah.
So this is Coach Kelly's transition, transformation. She's on her way to getting to where she wants to be. And like she said, she's going to keep evolving. And like, this isn't it for her. So when you finally get there, I'm understanding you to say you're going to still keep working on what motivates you to keep working on you. Did I get that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Because when we say get there from a
Yeah.
quantitative standpoint, when we get there, we think pounds. And so,
Yes.
yes. So even when I get to that magic number of what that is for me, it's still going to be a journey. Now we got to maintain it. Now the fun
Right.
stuff comes. We got to maintain
Right.
it and stay on that
Right.
path. So yeah, constant journey.
So, one last question, I promise. What has been a couple or a non-scale victory for you this far in your journey?
Oh my goodness, cooking more, getting rid of, reducing processed foods,
Mhm.
dealing with sugar cravings, sticking to my goal of, losing the 2 pounds a week, not giving up, even when I faltered in the beginning, not giving up, just being kind to myself, changing the kind of love language that I speak to myself, even if you do have a mistake or something. So there are so many wins from a non-scale standpoint. And so I'm glad you asked that question, because that's how, we can all do that. We could all give ourselves a pat on the back. And it's not just all coming down to that scale. You don't know what the scale is weighing anyway, unless you're going to a
Yeah.
doctor. You don't know what that is. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
The scale, I want to say, they say that the scale is a liar, right? And I don't necessarily agree with that for me. The scale isn't necessarily a liar. It's just a tool
it's a
that I
tool.
have in my toolbox, right? That helps me to gauge how I'm currently feeling along with the clothing sizes, whatever it is that I'm using. So thank you for sharing your non-scale victories. That's pretty awesome. All
Absolutely.
right, gang, I'm ready to close it out and say, how do you say, arrivederci,
I think so.
sayonara. Do you have any last words before we shut it down, Coach
No,
Elkin?
just thank you for having me, and thank you
Yeah,
for this is, I love our back and forth and having these
yeah,
discussions. So thank you so much.
absolutely. Okay, guys, till next time. I wish I could say what we're going to talk about, but we will stumble into what we're going to talk about naturally and effortlessly. Take care of yourself, guys. Bye bye.